Hi, I'm Gordy Gundaker. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor Podcast.
Hi, I'm Don Martin. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor. And this thing is big. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor Podcast. I'm Don Martin, joined by
Gordy Gundaker.
Gordy is working remotely, off-site. He actually attended a wedding over the weekend, and we're got a lot to cover this week. And before we get into that, our sponsors are Hoker Trucking, Nutrient Ag, Checkered Customs, Bodies by Skinny, and also Reed Millard's going to be coming on board with us, the family chapels. So that's exciting. We're going to jump right into it. Gordy, right off the bat, we had Summer Nationals kicked off last week. And Tuesday night at Brownstown, Illinois, Billy Moyer wins Summer National event.
Yeah, it's so funny to me. It was cool. I've got to, I grew up idolizing what Billy did in a race car, winning at Eldora and winning Summer National races and everything he's ever accomplished in a late model. And, I was fortunate that I don't want to say fortunate. I fucking hate racing against that guy because he's so damn good. But it was cool to watch him win these races. And then I was fortunate enough to race with him. And I swear, he's retired like 4 times. And every time he comes back, we'll be in the middle of a Summer Nationals race or wherever, and we all qualify and we're sitting in the infield. And he probably gets sick of me telling him, and I'm like, dude, I wish you would just fucking retire and be done. I said, I'm sick of racing with you because it doesn't matter how much he ages. He is good. He is a great race car driver, and he showcased it on Tuesday night running the Billy Moyer line that we've all watched him do a million times. And
the pass for the lead, right? With Mike beating a guy that knows that track better than anybody.
Yeah. I just, that typical Billy Moyer float in right about 2 lanes off the bottom and coast to the middle and leave straight as can be with all the grip in the world. And, I didn't watch the race live on Tuesday. But, I went back and watched it. He gives the lead up. Mike makes a mistake on the cushion, which is what Billy did to give him the lead. But Billy, he just never changed his line. He ran the same thing. And that's what he has done. He's like the gnat that just will not go away. He just fucking bothers you because you're like, I don't know how you're so good at exactly what you do and how you're able to place your car the way you're able to do it. But he does such a great job, and that's why a lot of racers idolize themselves or try to do what Billy has done over his career, because he's perfected the don't tear your race car up, take care of it, float out in the middle of the racetrack and he's Mr. Smooth for a reason. Right. And it was, right. It was really cool to see it. I mean, I know it had to chap Bab's ass, cause they're tied again. And, I also thought that stat was pretty crazy. Bab and Moyer are 101 wins, I believe. And awesome? The next closest is Bobby with 40 something. That is spectacular what those two have been able to accomplish.
I mean, it was something I didn't expect. I don't think any of us did. It wasn't like early in the year we saw when Billy, even when he got into the Lawson Motorsports car, it wasn't something that we saw initially, and then he's leading. But then again, it's obvious it's been working because going into Summer Nationals, he was leading the comp cams, point standings. And this is a guy who's in the mid to late 60s. And I saw the interview after the race was over, and he said, man, I finally really got a good handling race car under me. Yeah. And I don't know if you saw that interview with him or not.
Yeah, I did. Obviously, I know whenever they flopped over to this Longhorn program, they bought a car from JD. They did all those things. How we were out Wheatland, JD actually made a joke to me and said, don't let that old man beat you. And I said, well, hell, if you helped him, I'm going to, that sucks for all of us. And so, but here's the thing is Billy has made a living obviously out of racing, but those guys that are successful at the sport the way that they can get in anything and win. That's what makes those guys as great as they are. That's what makes Billy as great as he is. And I remember a time when Billy was running Black Diamond stuff. I actually thought it was really cool. That was right when I was
Pure driving.
having success with Black Diamond, and Billy came to me and said, "Hey, I'd like your input on some things," which for me was like, a hallelujah moment. I was like, wow, this is one of the greatest. This is a Mount Rushmore guy coming to me for some advice. And we've got I've known him obviously a long time. My dad and him raced together, but it was cool, to that he thought of me in that light, I guess you would say. Like I was having enough success to do that. And they struggled and, had some times. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh shit, he's really good again. And then everybody thought that, he was retiring again. And here he is winning a Summer Nationals race. It's cool to see, I think, from a race car driver standpoint, because, we always talk about it, right? You look at the sprint car side and the guys that get over 40, it seemed to be like that's where the fall off is, right? Yeah, they get into their 40s and it's like, you can't race sprint cars that long. There's been some anomalies, with Kinzer and the Dave Blaney's and those guys. But in dirt late model racing, we just saw it at the Dream with Dale McDowell and Shane Clanton sitting on the front row. And there's a huge disparity in age in our sport, which is 18, 19, younger than that, really, to guys that are in their 60s winning races and starting on the front row of the biggest races we have. It's pretty cool to see. From a racer standpoint. I think probably got to be cool from a fan standpoint. I mean, shit, you watched Billy when he started.
Well, I was going to say something. I remember when Billy Moyer and your dad ran for Larry Shaw. And here you got your dad, with the mustache like you've got with the fro, and you got Billy with that dark mustache. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I was even curious. Your dad almost even had to have a little bit of a twinkle going. It's nice to see.
Yeah, dude.
Guys still getting it done. But I remember that. I still remember the all-star race at Tri-City Speedway when they even took the roofs off.
Oh yeah.
In the wedge car, and your dad and Billy running that event. Of course, I think Jeff, the 15 car, we all know that guy, seemed to have a pretty good weekend that weekend, but like most weekends he had. But I always remember that. So yes, it's awesome.
Yeah.
To still see him out there in his mid to late 60s.
Yeah.
It looks like he's enjoying himself. He's still got that. Billy's got that smile, that little canned smile he's got. And it's good. It's great for racing. How is that not great for our sport?
It is. It 100% it is. The people who come in the stands and watch our sport are fans because Billy Moyer did what he did. There's a reason those people keep coming back. It's because of the things they saw him do 30 years ago. And he's still doing it today. It's really cool. It's nostalgic in its own way. And, I was really happy for Billy, for Stevie Norris, I can't, and Lawson, Keith is a great guy. We got to park with them at Wheatland a couple times. Hell, he comes over and talks with us. And dude, he is just an awesome individual. And I don't want to say it because it's going to sound wrong, but Billy finds his way to these perfect car owners, it seems like, all the time, that just give him everything, right? And and Keith is one of those guys that obviously just loves the sport, clearly loves Billy, and it's hard not to, right? So he's a great guy, and he's the gentleman of what we all aspire to be in dirt late model racing. So it's cool to see those guys prospering still this late in their career. It's great for our sport. It means you can race 40 years in dirt late models.
Yes. And then we get into we shift gears a little bit, and we get into Jason Feger a little bit. The only one that picked up 2 wins for the week, got the bonus.
Yeah.
And got it kicked off Tuesday, Kankakee. And then I'd like you to talk. I was kind of like, Jason, of course, is first of all is a friend of the show, had him on earlier. It was kind of, I don't think when you looked at Shirley, Bab, and some of the guys, even though Jason, not saying he's not capable, but I think we looked at some of the World of Outlaw heavy hitters of Troutman and those guys coming in a little bit. But I think we forget about a guy that knows these racetracks as good as anybody.
Yeah, I
And
mean, well, listen, Jason cut his teeth on this series, right?
that's right.
That is what Jason, he gained the high side hustler name from the summer nationals, right? And he understands just as much as anybody what the cost is in this sport, how much it takes, right? And that's why they go do all of these races, because if he's not racing every night, hell, he's got a big crew, a lot of great people behind him, but he knows that it takes money to fund this program. And so I think his success probably gets lost a little bit, with how much he's really accomplished. Maybe he doesn't have those real big wins. You look back and you look at the red mark on him with the Farmer
Right.
City win when he got popped and those things. But Jason is a staple in the Summer Nationals. Always has been. He wins
Yes.
every year on the Summer Nationals. He wins races, and it's not always the same places. That's what's kind of crazy to me. Is you think about him doing the Paducas, right? You're like, oh, he wins there every time, so that's just a given that Jason owns that. But it's not just that, right? You look at
Right.
it, he goes out there at Kankakee and wins. He goes to Sycamore and wins, and
Yep.
it's obviously I love those guys, Jason and Abby, their daughter
They're
Wynn,
just great people. The whole
they're
family,
awesome.
mom,
Their entire
grandma. I mean, they do it right.
Tracy and all of them, I've been so fortunate to spend a lot of time with that group, and they're just great. But it's
I agree with you, Gordy.
his success gets lost sometimes in what he does, and I think it's just because he races so much, right? Like, he clips off a 5 here, he wins the Mars championship, and all these, and it's like, oh yeah, like he's great, but maybe he doesn't have that crown jewel or the things that everybody marks their careers on. Jason Feger has had a great fucking career, and he
You
is
better believe it.
damn proud of it, and he should be. Any of us would give to be as successful as he has been in the Midwest, over how many years now, in different cars, Black Diamonds and Mars,
Yep.
and Longhorns and Rockets. Like, he's done it all. And he's also a hands-on type guy. That's one of the reasons I think we get along so well, is just we're both very in tune with our programs, and we work on our own stuff, and we spend those long nights in the shop. It's cool to see, and I was super super happy for him, especially to lock up the week-long $10,000 with a
Yep.
win, right? Like,
Yep.
that's a huge exclamation point on the first week of the Summer Nationals.
And I was going to touch base, talk about Jason's, people I don't think realize his fan base. All you got to do is go to Hustler Fest.
Fucking
It
diehards.
might have the biggest race party for a driver of anybody I know. I mean,
I've been hungover there from that party a few times, but it's cool because, dude, they show up in droves for his race party. Because,
yes.
but it's because he's built respect around these people. They watch him, and they understand that he's a very hardworking person and does all the things the right way. He might complain a little bit, maybe sometimes. That's cool.
We all do.
We all bitch, but at the same time, that's why they love him, man. Like, he's himself at all times, no matter what. That's one thing about Jason. You're always going to get exactly who you think he is on social media, who you see in the interviews. That's who Jason Feger is. And it's obviously I'm always so happy. Redbeard, those guys, their entire crew,
Absolutely.
just, they're top-notch people who work hard for what they earn.
And we can't move on without talking a little bit about Brian Shirley, because Brian Shirley we both know that, he got one win. He got the big one at Fairbury, of course, but the bottom line is,
He should have won
probably
3.
not talking about Jason with this big bonus. Brian, I mean,
He should have won
Brian
3.
said he broke. He was
Yeah,
fast.
He should have won 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was walking the dog at Peoria.
Yep.
That race was well over. I don't even know what happened. I don't know. Maybe I don't even know, but I just, that he cannot. I mean, I'm glad he got one. I'm sure that was a relief, but the black cloud will not leave him alone. It is sickening to watch, because I mean, I know what Bob Collins spends. I know what those guys are doing, what the hard work goes in. Like they just have stupid problems that are out of your own control. It's crazy. And I can't imagine what that, I mean, obviously it's great to get some wins or whatever, but man, the toll that takes on you when you know you have the best car in the field and you don't win and you break something, I mean, it's hard, and
Yeah.
props to them for just I mean, hell, this year for them has been 5 years for most of us. So, and they just keep clipping along, it's cool
Yeah,
to
they do.
see, Brian, obviously also same deal, great, obviously, great friends of ours, but, he's just a hard-nosed racer, I hate seeing guys go through shit like that, when they don't, no, none of us deserve it at the end of the day, that, when we catch bad luck and those things. But man, he has had just an awful, awful time this year with bad luck. So it was cool to see him get one. I hate that he lost probably two of them. But I think that momentum will always gain. And we've talked about it plenty of times on this show that, man, when he gets hot, he could rip 3, 4, 5 off in a hurry, really, really quickly. I mean, I know when I've raced against him plenty of times, and he's on his game. If he starts in front of you, good luck, because you're going to have a hell of a time trying to beat him.
Yeah, and two guys we thought me and you both thought would have a better week than what they had, and that's Turbo and Bronson, who were also on the show.
Yeah.
They seem like they just, especially the year before, what Turbo had, for
Yeah.
Summer Nationals, and looks like he's fighting some gremlins.
Oh, Turbo came right off of the Eldora with winning heat races, and he's up front and racing for that, and that shows you how hard the Summer Nationals really is. A lot of people, I think, take it for granted, at the end of the day, what the Summer Nationals is, because it's a bunch of $5,000 midweek shows and some tens on the weekend and whatever. Those races are fucking hard to win. Very hard. I've been fortunate enough to win 4 of them. And I worked my ass off to win all 4 of those. And, it's spectacular because you see it, right? Like Bronson and Turbo are 2 highly touted names in our sport. And to be frank, they were not even in the picture this whole week,
Right. Exactly.
And I don't think it's really anything against those guys. They had a bad week. They might come out and they might both win all the races next week. But it shows, it shows how hard it is to go win these races, just every night, and what it takes, the grind that the Summer Nationals is, but also how hard dirt late model racing is these days. Ripping off 5 wins in a year. If you could win 5 races in a year right now in dirt late model racing, you're doing something. And that sounds crazy because some people might look at it and go, 5 wins? What the hell is, dude, you win 1 right now. That's enough in reality. And so, yeah, I think I'm sure those guys are probably, looking and going, okay, how do we get better? What did we miss on? What did we do wrong? But it probably wasn't that much as people maybe think, oh, maybe they were way off. They were trying crazy things. It probably was not that. It just shows, it's a testament of what going to those races, and there's 40, 50 race cars, your first 2 laps of the night to depict your night. It shows how close all of us are in speed right now. And you can't start 16th in these races anymore and win them.
Well, I want to circle back and talk about Kankakee Speedway a little bit. I think we both know Bill Nippon.
It used to be so much cooler.
Yeah,
not trying to shit on him. It used to be way better.
Yeah, well, Bill Nippenberg came out, and Summer Nationals got some heat this week, on social media, and I think, for the late nights, so many classes. And Bill Nippenberg put out a little post, on the social media outlets talking about what it costs, how he would love to get out of there earlier and not have such so many classes, but I don't get a dime from Dirt Vision, and if I had a little bit of this, maybe it'd help out, and still kind of went into like all the expenses and knowing how you and your family own a racetrack and you've got an event coming up, and I'm sure you saw some of the remarks that came out this week. Brownstown, late night, bottom line, it's a late night. It's tough on the midweek when people got to go to work the next day. We've talked about this, you and I have, and you'd love to see that 10:30 get out of there, because some people just don't live next to the racetrack. They may have an hour drive home. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about, I'm sure that it's been a big thing going out, about, and we had with Rigsby and Hoker on here talking about the streaming aspects. And I did not, I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. There's no money coming in from Dirt Vision on some of these, on these racetracks for these 4 weeks of hell on the Hell Tour.
Yeah. I feel like I probably should.
You don't know where to start, do you?
I probably should bite my tongue here, but I don't think I'm going to. The way the promoters are treated now these days, I think is wrong. Just in general, Bill hit it right on the head. They take all the risk. The promoters take all the risk from the minute they just sign up to have these races. Yes, it's great. It's great to have a Summer Nationals race. It's great to have a Lucas race. It's great to have a World of Outlaws event. The risk is on the promoter, because what people don't understand is, I've seen it a million times, right? The purse alone, on let's say a Summer Nationals event, a 10,000 to win on Friday night, which we've had forever. By the time you're paying your late models, your modifieds, and you say you have a third class, you're up in the $50,000 to $60,000 range from the get-go, right? And you then have a UMP sanction fee, a couple $1,000. You have your cost of goods, you have your employees. Next thing you know, you're creeping into a $75,000 mark from the jump. And yeah, it's great to have all these racers come in, but here's also now, I don't know if they still do it or not, but I believe that the people up in points get some passes now, and which is great. They should. I believe they should. The guys that follow the series, your top 10 in points, you should absolutely get that. But when you take 40 guys, a night, you get 10 cars, four guys get passes. Take that times $40, that's $1,600 straight off the top. Okay, great. All right, so now that's less than what you make. And now you're like, okay, I got people in the grandstands, and the cost of getting in the grandstands has been a huge topic. Is $30 too much? Is $35 too much? Is everybody looks back and they're like, well, we used to pay $12 to get into these races. Well, it's not realistic for a promoter to be able to say, yeah, let's come in and have $15 general admission prices, because at that point you got to have 2,000 people in the grandstands. You ain't getting 2,000 people on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night or a Thursday night. You're not getting it on a Friday night. If you want me to be honest, you might get 1,200 or 1,500 or something like that. And so that number is massive, and people, I don't think, understand that. And so what's hard, like Bill said exactly, is Dirt Vision's not giving any money to these promoters, right? That we had this talk with Rigsby about Flow trying to give back more to the promoters. I don't think they do enough. And we gladly talked about it. And I don't think that's maybe their fault. That's where the disparity is of, like, we have to find that middle ground. I don't think that a promoter should be getting less than $8,000 a night to have a race from the streaming service, because without that racetrack, you don't have a fucking streaming service. So what are we doing? These people work all week, whenever their race is, to do the best they can to put on the best venue, the best racetrack, all these things. They clean their places up, they paint the walls, they mow the grass. There's so much that goes into these things, and it's so overlooked. And I don't want to say the streaming services are robbing the promoters. I don't think that's the right term, but in a sense they are, right? That's the way I look at it. Mm-hmm. They can give back more. 100% they can give back more. They choose not to. I don't want to say they're greedy. I don't think that's also the right word because, I know Brian Carter. I know Michael Rigsby. I don't think that they are the greediest individuals you've ever met, but I do think that they like to pad their pockets more than they would like to give back. And I'm not talking bad about those guys because they run a business. That's what business is. But without all of these racetracks, what the fuck are you going to do? Right? Like, that's the way I look at it. If these promoters just said, "Hey, listen, we don't want it. We don't want your streaming service no more. The hell with your streaming service." What do you think they would say? What would they? Hey, listen, we'll have a Summer Nationals race. It's not on Dirt Vision. How do you think that would go over? They'd say, "Well, guess what? You don't have a Summer Nationals race anymore." So they've now, in a sense, they've monopolized their business. It says, "Listen, you have to have us. We don't have to give you anything more than that, though." That's the part that I don't like at all. There needs to be compensation that's way more than what is being had already. Listen, I know sometimes, yeah, great, a big racetrack or a race, maybe they knock it out of the park, right? We talked about this with Hoker's event at Makokata. Yeah, he knocked it out of the park. It could have very easily gone the other way, and he'd be sitting here singing a way different tune. But you know who didn't lose? Flo didn't lose. Dirt Vision is not losing on the Summer Nationals. They got races every night. They're paying, so they can cut off a bigger piece of the pie than what they're cutting right now. They choose not to. I don't like that. I've never have. A lot of people will get on here. I get it all the time on social media. They tell me I bitch too much and I have a loud voice for little talent I have. I've heard it a fucking million times. Truly don't give a shit. I give a shit about racing. I give a shit about dirt late model racing. I give a shit about dirt sprint car racing. I care about local racing. Everybody should.
That's why we started this.
Everybody
this is exactly why we started this, right?
Everybody should win. Listen, there is so much money in our sport, and the people who are losing the most are the promoters. How does that make any sense? The people who grind the most, who truly put every dollar they have into something, right? You look at a guy like Forrest Lucas, right? Who built this beautiful, beautiful racetrack, beautiful facility. He probably takes a loss on some nights, even though he has the best facility in the country, but nobody cares because it's Forrest Lucas, right? Right. Oh, he's got enough money. It should make it. Why? He should not be losing. He's giving you a beautiful place to race. All of these, every promoter in America, every track owner, all of these people, they are a godsend, I mean, I look at a guy like Jerry Van Sickle up there at Marshalltown. I get a Snapchat from Jerry Van Sickle damn near every day, and he's on the racetrack, sheepsfooting, grading, tilling, working, right? And Marshalltown's an unbelievable racetrack. Matt Curl, his entire staff at Fairbury, they work every day. I watch my mom and dad kill themselves. Josh at Brownstown, Peevely, every day out there working, killing themselves so they can get fucked over at the end of the day, I think, by by not getting a bigger piece of the product they are putting on. Why? It makes no sense to me. It makes absolutely no sense. I mean, I've talked about this for a long time, and I just really think that they could do a way better job taking care of the people who take care of them. I mean, without these racetracks, we don't have entertainment. Entertainment is made because of these racetracks. Yes, it's the racers, it's everybody that goes into it. But if we don't have racetracks to go to, we ain't watching anything. So why are we not prioritizing them at the top of the list? They should be number one. They should be absolutely number one over everything else. Yeah, sure. I'm sure a lot of these racetracks hit home runs and they make money. Yeah, I've seen it. I've been a part of it. I've watched my mom and dad have great nights where they make a ton of money. I've also watched them lose their ass for 2 or 3 months in a row when it rains out. People don't show up because they watch on the streaming services at home. They don't go, "Hey, we really appreciate you. Here's a little extra. Thanks. Never happens. That part is what rubs me the wrong way. And I think that eventually there's going to be push come to shove. You're seeing it now. When you got promoters
Yep.
making Facebook posts, social media
Yep.
posts,
We never saw that before. We're seeing it more and more now.
because
They're coming
they know.
out.
Because they know. They know. And I think that's where the heads are going to start to butt here soon, because I think the promoters are just going to get sick of it, and they should. You know, I hate that. I don't. There should, there's an easy fix to this. I promise you there is. I'm not saying I have the fix, but there's a way. You're not telling me that Flow has gone and Dirt Vision has gone, and all of a sudden, they're paying out $250,000 to win points funds, but we can't give $5,000 extra to each promoter that has our races, that does these things. I don't know. That's the part that just I hate that, and I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to talk bad about Dirt Vision and Flow, because they have also given us so much, but there's a conversation.
We have to have streaming, but at the same time,
yeah, you can't bend over the promoters and say, hey, I know you guys might have broke even. Thanks. We made a boatload. That part does not fly. And it eventually, honestly, it's, these conversations probably won't be had for a couple of years, if you ask me. And you're going to probably end up seeing some promoters start kind of retaliating in a way where they just start saying, hey, I don't want this event. I don't give a shit about it. It doesn't make me anything because you don't want to help me. So, and people bitch. And then same thing that Bill was sitting here talks about. He has to make money. He has to somehow at least break even. So they're like, oh, well, you fucking race till 2 a.m. Yeah, well, at least he probably come out even. If he got over at 10 with 2 classes, he lost $10,000.
Yeah.
What kind of businessman looks at it and goes, all right, I can take a $10,000 loss tonight. Fuck yeah. No. Hell no.
No.
So yeah, I don't know. That part is tough. Like I said, I'm not trying to bash on them.
No, but I'm glad we addressed it. I felt like, that's what we do. And I appreciate you just coming forward, and because I know you're as passionate as about anybody about racing. You're driving,
and
involved.
And I know all those guys.
Yeah.
I think the world of a lot of them. But they could do a lot more. I know they can. Listen, we've seen it, right? We've seen it in every sport, even outside of racing, right? The TV rights and all these things that happen, right? And everybody always wants more. They want more. Well, when you're not taking care of your own, there's a problem. That's an issue to me. So I don't know. I hope that we figure it out sooner rather than later, because if not, there's going to be it would just be more racetracks closing down that don't want to do it anymore. They won't want to deal with it.
Well, let's talk about the second week now. Now let's get to some positive stuff. We're rolling to the second week. Starts tonight at Wilmot. Then, of course, we scoot on over into Davenport, and then we get into where you went to college at, Quincy, on Thursday. And there's a little
Wednesday.
Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's Thursday. I kind of got ahead of myself because that Lee County Speedway is a little bit of a gem for me. I've been there a few times. Yeah. It's a neat little joint.
Dude,
right there on the Iowa and Illinois, on the Missouri border right there.
My old man raced there a long time, and I got a funny story. It's actually not that funny. It pissed me off this night, but we went up to Donaldson to race I want to say it was an MLRA race or something along those lines. The only reason I remember that is because Terry Phillips was there, so it had to be an MLRA race. And so we went up there and supposed to roll out front row of the B main on the pole. Roll out there. Trevor was about, I don't know, 13 or 14 at the time. I had one of my other buddies, Sean, with me, and we're getting tires on for the B main, and roll out there, and the fucking left front falls off this damn thing, and the wheel cover was on it. That's the part that shocked me on all this. The wheel cover's on it, and we roll in, and kind of tow me back to the pit area, to the hot pit, and they get the tire back on. I got to go to the tail of this deal, the B main, start like 16th. They take 2, I run 3rd. Don't make the race, and I'm madder than hell, you know. Well, you know, we did like you ever seen the Spider-Man meme where everybody's like, you know, that deal? Nobody wanted to take accountability for it. Well, I'm like, one of you sons of bitches put the wheel cover on it, but you forgot to tighten the wheel. And it just cracked me up. My old man was so mad at us. They rolled up late. They got there right before the heat race. Watch the heat race. The wheel come off in the B main. By the time I got back, as I pulled in after the B main, he said, "Load this shit up, come home. You're done racing for the weekend." And he left. And so every time I think about that place, that's the only memory I have of it, you know. And
That's your Lee County story.
that's my Lee County. And I'm like, God, so we had initially planned on going there this week. We're not going to. We're just going to race the Friday, Saturday. But you know, it's a really cool racetrack. It's neat. It's flat.
And I know you missed racing at Quincy on Wednesday.
Oh yeah,
racing there.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. But it's just part of it. You know, one of the things we got right now is we're sitting we got one motor right now. Glenn at Clements is working on our other one to get it back, so we can have it back for PDC and Cedar Lake and all those things. So just way it goes. I hate not racing. I promise you that much. But it's just sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and especially Quincy. You know, it's a second hometown for me, and I love all those people up there.
Sure.
And it's cool to see the adjustments they've made at their racetrack. Obviously, the first event there a couple weeks ago wasn't ideally what they wanted, but it turned out really good by the end of the night. So I expect a good race there on Wednesday.
Well, we got to talk about Peevely a little bit. And Peevely, of course, co-sanctioned, of course, with the Summer Nationals and the World of Outlaws, but also on the card is the Extreme Midgets with the Power Eye Midgets.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to see a lot of superstars in this pit area.
It's going to be badass.
You're going to have you're going to have some of the best late model drivers in the country. You're going to see the McIntoshes and the Jacob Denny's, possibly in the world. Keith's going to bring some cars. This is going to be and then you got, of course, the modifieds along with it, Yeah. And I looked at it and the weather looks great this weekend. It's going to be a little warm, but the weather looks great. And looks like Josh Carroll has put together one hell of an event for this weekend.
Yeah. It's going to be a really neat deal. It's always cool when you can get a couple big series in the same pit area. I wish they did the Outlaws and the Outlaw late models together more. I wish, you saw the Lucas Oil late models and the high limit sprint cars together,
Yep.
But it's neat when you get to do these things. It's cool I think for racers too, because you get to see these guys, that we all watch but you're all in the same pit area for 2 days, and you get to watch what they do and they watch what we do. And hell, you have conversations that are super cool. Like, right. You get all these different topics that bring up, and, obviously I have a great connection with the open wheel world, but it's fun for us because it's just a rarity these days when you get 2 series that are national series together on the same weekend, racing at the same racetrack. So I expect probably a great crowd. I don't see how there wouldn't be. You got the Outlaw late models mixed with the Summer Nationals, mixed with the Extreme National Series. And yeah, I mean, hell,
12,000 to win on Friday for the late models and 20,000 to win on Saturday.
Yeah. And you got some of the best talent in the country all in the same pit area. Yeah. You got all of these guys, and for one, it's going to be hard to win. It's going to be hard to make the race. It's going to be, the midgets. I've always watched them there at Peevely. Listen, you better throw your nutsack out the window if you want to run a midget around Peevely. And it's pretty cool to watch them guys get around there. It's Peevely's it's a gem, and it's a tough place to get around. It's awesome. It's one of my favorite places. Obviously, I grew up right by there, and I've raced a million laps around that place. But it's a technical driver's racetrack, and it is so awesome. And I love that obviously Josh and his entire staff have been putting a
All
lot
the
of work
improvements
and
they've made, all the
yeah,
improvements they've
and kudos to him. A couple weeks back, they had a terrible racetrack. Um, and Josh owned right up to it the next day, standing out there talking about how he dissed the entire racetrack up and they had a water issue. It faced it head on and said, listen, this was plain enough, not good enough. And I thought that was awesome, for him to just take on responsibility for, and I don't even want to say it's responsibility. I think things happen. It's dirt at the end of the day. But it was cool to see that. But I mean, hell, I know those guys will be prepping all week, getting the facilities ready and the racetrack ready. And I expect nothing but awesome racing all weekend. I'm excited for it. A lot of money, 45 minutes from my house in my backyard, I mean, hell, there'd be probably 50, 60 cars easily. So it's going to be a great weekend for Peevely, for Dirt Late Model Racing, for World of Outlaws, for the Extreme Midget Series. It'll be pretty cool, and I'm excited for it.
Well, hopefully, this weekend too, we can talk a little bit about it and we'll get into it because we got the firecracker going on at Lernerville out in Pennsylvania, for the late models too, the Lucas Oil Series back in action after being off for a little bit of time. And all of our top 25 look to be in action pretty much this weekend, so we haven't seen a lot of jumping going on since the Dream. And now we're getting ready to see we got some big paint races this weekend and jumping around. And I didn't know if you've had a chance to look at the top 25 or not in our late models. And we can kind of start right at the top. I'll kind of go through it a little bit with you, and I'd like you to talk a bit about it. Naturally, we've got Bobby at the top. We go Bobby, JD, RTJ, we got Devin, Huddy, Overton. We got Hoffman at 7.
I told you.
Nick is going to be, I can see Nick being really stout this week.
I'm telling you, it was a matter of time.
Yes, you called it. He started off slow, but like you mentioned, though, they had speed. They just didn't have the results they wanted, but the speed was there. And now we're starting to see it, right? We're starting to see he's already climbed 7th in our
Hey, I told you on the Dream preview, I had Nick Hoffman in my top 3 on Saturday.
Yeah, but what you didn't tell me, though, he was going to get the lucky dog and rally back up through there, which was awesome, by the way.
Even better. I mean, that shows how much speed he had. Obviously, kudos to him and his entire group there. He showed his speed on his prelim night, drove from 17th to 5th or 6th or whatever it was. Gets dealt a bad hand for the first heat race on Saturday with JD and him. And I don't remember, it was a freaking loaded heat race, which is the worst heat race to be in at Eldora is the first one, but obviously, people, I don't know, the lucky dog thing's a topic of discussion and whatever, I think it's
the
a
bottom
good
line,
thing.
it's there. And
yeah,
no matter how you want to be, the bottom line was it's there, and it was there for everybody too.
Yes, absolutely. Everybody, all the other guys that took the lucky dog down, they didn't drive up there. So
most of the time you get the lucky dog, you don't respond like that. He actually took advantage. He got it and he took advantage of it. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. No. So obviously they're turning their program to the right direction. I feel like the other 6 that are in front of him are, staples. They're not going nowhere. Yep. And it's, listen, we
both know that Timmy's at 13, and we've seen how he's rising. And Brian Shirley is at 12. And to me, you look at what could have been, like we discussed earlier, what could have been last weekend. And he's going to run almost every night of the week this week to leading into Peevely. Brian, I think, is a guy that's going to move up in I think he's going to be higher than 12 going into next week.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I mean, obviously this week you got, all those races we talked about. And I feel like for sure, obviously Brian's hitting a good stride. He'll definitely keep climbing.
He runs good at Peevely too. He's got a lot of laps around Peevely.
Yeah. And so, but I tell you what, man, you think about all the cars that are going to be there Friday, Saturday, like I said, it's a tough field. It's one of those deals where you might run top 5 the first night. You might not make the fucking race the next night. Yeah. it's just the way the racing is right now, and especially at Peevely, because qualifying is normally obviously the name of the game anywhere we go, but Peevely has its own animal because some nights it's got that wide open big cushion. Some nights it blows off right away, and then it's technical in qualifying, and there's a tough way to find speed there. And I feel like I've raced there enough that I normally have a pretty good grasp of what's going on. But dude, it can throw you for a loop in a hurry, and you're like, I have no idea what just happened.
Right. And the track
yeah,
has changed this year. And the track has changed.
yes, definitely. And so I think you know, I do agree for sure that I think Shirley's going to continue to mount up.
Yep.
You know, I think obviously, like I said, your top 6, 7, 8, I think are your top 6, 7, 8 for the rest of the year. I don't think those guys are going to climb into that ranking, unless Brian goes in there and rips off some outlaw wins and really, you know, pours it home on them. But
we're starting to see Garrett Albertson slide a little bit. You know, we're starting to see Garrett. Mary got off to such a great after winning Novato early in the year and had a couple of, but you're starting to see him. You know, I remember at one time before everybody started rolling into their programs that Albertson was up there, but it just seemed like and then Shepard at 9. I know Brandon Shepard is in my opinion, one of the most talented drivers I've ever seen behind the wheel.
Yeah.
And I know that they'll say they're not fighting a car issue a little bit and they're getting better. And I respect Mark, and no one's going to work harder than Mark Richards, and they'll figure this thing out. I get it. But the bottom line, the results just haven't been there for the most part. And hopefully, you know, Brandon, I know that Brandon would love to be in the Midwest this week. But going to Lernerville has been a track that Rocket in the past
always been
very good at. Mark has always seemed like he's had a pretty good program up there.
Well, with Eckert was always good. With Timmy was good. With Brandon, you know, first go around good. Josh was always good. So they seem to always have a grasp there. You know, so I think for sure you're probably going to see the Rocket one, you know, near the front. I think this weekend. I think he was really pretty good at Eldora. It was wild to me that he never got up and spanked the fence. That's what's really bashed, you know, kind of threw me off. I was like, shit, you know.
Right.
He kind of floated the middle and did things there for a little bit. But you know, I feel like they're getting a grasp on their program. Obviously they're going through some stuff.
There's no quitting Mark. There's no quitting Mark. That's the one thing that people need to understand. There's not, you know, backing him into a corner sometimes is all exactly what he wants.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Always, you know, he's always been that way. When people start to doubt them is normally when they start to shine the most. And
yes, we got a lot of racing left for the year. We got a lot of racing.
We're in June, you know, we haven't even got to the big money months yet. So, you know, you got your PDCs and all these other events coming up in Cedar Lake and those things that they seem to shine at. And we might be singing a different tune in 2 months going, we counted the Rocket one out and they just blistered us, you know? So, yeah, I think they'll always find success one way or another. That's just what they do. And so it'll be, you know, for the racers, it's like, you hope they just stay struggling because you don't want them to get in that stride, because if they get in that stride, man, they are tough to beat at all times. I mean, we've seen what Sheppy did over and over and over again in that car year after year on the Outlaw Tour. So yeah, I think it'll be good. Just got a show from the room there.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Well, the other thing is, you know, real quick, and we had Jonathan Davenport on the show when we had him.
Hey, check this out. Look at this. Delivery.
There you go. I don't have that. My two people I'm looking at are on the couch, about ready to fall asleep, wondering when this thing's going to be over.
Oh, not yet. I love it.
But anyway, the next thing I wanted to talk a little bit about, and we can get into it a little bit, was the fact that this is a big week for JD, because when we had JD on the show, and without Jonathan Davenport, for people out there, the Firecracker is one of those that he talked about on his bucket list. And this week we see the 49 car get it done. Is he wearing Uncle Sam hat come Saturday night?
I'll tell you what, if I mean, you see what he just did
I
with
hope he
Eldora.
does.
You know,
I really do. You
it's
could
hard.
definitely tell he wants it.
You can't say he's not the favorite going into this weekend.
I agree.
You know, I mean, you look at the guys that race up there, your Jared Miley's, your Mason Ziegler's, your Greg Satterley's, those guys are Rick Eckert, you know, they're really good up there. But man, the 49 has had chance after chance at that race and had stupid things happen or just whatever. And man, he seems determined. You know, obviously he goes out there and spanks the field at Eldora, but the entire year, you know, he's won a bunch of races. He's ran second at double as many races as he's won. So when I feel like if he has a target on that race, that's trouble for everybody. You know, I think I think for sure the 49 is the car to beat this weekend. If you ask me, I think he gets it done. And he checks off one more notch, and he leaves himself with one more bucket list race that he's got to win in his mind. And so, yeah, I think for sure, in my mind, I think the 49 wins this weekend. Those long races, all those things, that just plays right into his favor, barring something stupid happening. I just don't know if there's anybody that's going to compete with him in that long style race. You know, granted, weather, I don't know what the weather looks like. You know, sometimes it rains up there and it throws everybody for a monkey wrench. But I think, you know, I would say the 49 wins on Saturday night.
I like it. Now we can't, you know, we talked about the late models. Here we got with PV, we're going to shut down the late models now. We're going to go into sprint car racing because there's a lot of people need to understand. We got a lot of money out there this week in sprint car racing.
Oh.
I mean, we got the Peevely, of course, with the World of Outlaws, the 20, and then you got the 40,000, you know, I think it's 40,000 at Lernerville. And then we go into sprint car racing. We got a race on the West Coast at Skagit that's paying $100,000 to win at Kevin Rudin's place. The Raper Memorial Race. And there's a guy that just got into the States. Me and you talked about it. Driving the Tarleton 21 car. And this guy got in, James McFadden, folks, and he just won 4 out of 5.
Oh.
At tracks he had never been at.
Oh.
And we and you talked about it. And we know that this guy, Gordy, loves anyway, because when this guy wins, he takes the shoe off.
The old shoey.
Grounds the beard. He's going to either have a lot of pair of shoes this week from last week, or that one's got to be, or is he doing the left foot? Because that right foot's got to be a little heavy.
Dude, I'll tell you what, man. Awesome to see him come back and have the success.
J-Mac is back, baby.
Dude, how great to have that guy back, you know, in the States racing. You know, awesome. It's awesome to have. Great dude. Also got to spend some time with him and his family at Sheldon Hodenschild's shop for a few days one time. Awesome dude. Great chef, by the way. Dude can cook.
Really?
Unbelievable. He made this like I think he called it like a hamburger taco or something. I don't even know what the hell it was, but I'm telling you, it was unbelievable. And so I told him that at Knoxville every year I was going to come back and get him. That year I went back and got him, and then last year, he hasn't been back. And so, but just obviously, dude, the speed they showed. And I know that those fields weren't necessarily stacked by layman's terms of what people would say, but he was lapping guys like they were just sitting there. He lapped like 6 guys in the last 2 laps of that one race that I saw, and I'm like, holy shit, like, where is this? You know, and so clearly he's got some motivation. They have a great program. The Tarleton group has always had a great program. They've done it with Macedo and Bell. I believe Bell raced for them, and just all those guys they've had in there. They've success, but Tanner Holmes was in this ride, and everybody's like, man, he looks great. And James McFadden walks in here and jumps in this thing, and it made I don't even know how to explain it. It made Tanner look bad after they won races. Like I don't want to, and Tanner didn't look bad, but he, I'm like, holy shit. And so, yeah, that obviously they're going to be, a top tier team for 100 grand this weekend. But dude, J
There's
Mac,
no Corey Day. The defending champ, Corey's not going to be there.
yeah,
He's going to be running the ARCA race at Mid Ohio
yeah,
this week. So he's out of pocket from the winners. So
yeah, yeah, J
would you
Mac's
bet
going to be.
against J Mac this week? The other thing I was looking at J Mac's finishes, Gordy, last year at Skagit, and I'm kind of a stat guy. McFadden at Skagit with high limit last year, they ran 3 races, a second, and this is crazy. He was in the top 5 almost every race they had at Skagit last year when he went there with high limit. And high limit guys aren't there, okay?
Right.
So we know that Starks, there's a good contingent up there. That's Starks and Solwall just won last weekend up there. And those guys are strong there, but
They ain't James McFadden.
McFadden in 3 races up there last year, 8th, 3rd, and 2nd with high limit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that tells you that he's comfortable at that place. He's coming off a week. He won 4 races. His confidence is through the roof.
Yes.
He is definitely one of the guys to beat up there. I'm not going to write it off and say James McFadden is for sure winning. I'm not, but I will say you're going to see him on the podium a couple of those nights for sure, and very easily could be the guy taking home 6 figures on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, Peck's going to be there. Justin's going to be there. And so is Brent Marks now, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So, and Marks ran in the top 10. I looked at that. He was inside the top 10 of each night. We all saw what Justin Peck, he's already got 2 high limit wins on the season.
Yeah. Well, and
this is setting up for a pretty good, a pretty good little race.
Well, and that racetrack plays into a style of James McFadden and Justin Peck. More so than I would say at Brent Marks. And the only reason I'm not knocking Brent Marks saying he can't get up there and get it on, because he obviously can. But I feel like that style at Skagit is more of a Justin Peck, James McFadden style. Get it on and wear it out style deal. So I think you're going to see those guys. Obviously, Justin Peck has had speed as well very recently. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's going to be a great show. I'm excited to be able to watch it, as much as I can. But it'll
be a great
be
facility, man. When they show everything, the setting at Skagit's pretty awesome.
It's cool. Yep. No, it's cool. So yeah, I'm excited to watch it for sure. I think it's gonna be a great race. All 3 nights there, and James McFadden, I think, is definitely one of the top 3 guys there that has the best chance to take away some money.
Does he take the 6 figures home on Saturday?
I don't want to say that he does. I just don't. I'm not saying I doubt him. But you throw a lot
You got to pick. You got to pick for Skagit on Saturday night.
I don't think I have a pick. It's one of those places that is, it'll reach out and bite you. You've watched a lot of races there, and guys make mistakes and do things there, especially when you're racing for a lot of money. So I don't want to sit here and say, yeah, James McFadden's going to go down there and walk the dog.
Right.
But I guess if I had to pick a horse to ride with, it would probably be James. Just seeing what he did this past week and what,
it's hard not to after this week. I mean, a guy just took 4 out of 5.
Well, when you take a guy like Corey Day and say he's not going to be there, that that frees up his podium spot.
Well, speaking of Corey Day, we got to talk. We might as well get right into it. Last week in Knoxville, you had basically the preview of the Nationals. You had most of the high limit guys were in the house, all the World of Outlaw guys, and then Corey Day goes in there. And Corey, it was 1 year ago that kind of like Corey made his statement at Knoxville when he won that race a year ago, and he backed it up again. But I'll tell you what I took away from last week, and I was there. And first of all, shout out to Jennifer and Richard for giving me the best seats in the house. Really appreciate it. But my big takeaway was David Gravel Friday night winning the race from the third row. And then at the end of that race, when Corey was going through traffic, the way David was reeling him in again, a first and a second, it really, that 2-car, the year it's already having, looks to me they're primed for a Nationals win. And we both know he's already won it before. And they, to me, look like they're.
Yeah,
that team's not fucking around, Gordy.
Oh, well, I mean, the thing is, too, it's like he did it in like 3 different styles. He was able to murder the fence. He was able to run the middle. He was able to run the bottom and do the things that you need to do to win Knoxville. So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely put himself as the top car, I think, going into August. A lot can change before then, but they made a statement for sure.
Definitely made a statement. I felt like,
Corey Day did what Corey Day does. And
what'd you think about that? What'd you think about he rebounds from going through the billboards, which we both know it was just awesome. Like I came here to win, man.
Yeah.
Some people don't like my style. I love it when he says some people don't like the way I drive and like my style.
I wasn't lifting. It's badass. It is badass because it takes fucking balls to do that in a sprint car. I mean, he ballparked that fucking thing, but yeah, obviously Corey Day's a talent, earned every bit of that win on Saturday. But when you look at what the most stable car was all weekend, most balance, most speed, everything, it was the 2. And so, it's hard for those guys racing with them to look at it and go, shit, we don't have near enough speed to keep up with this guy. So, they've proved that all year, last year into this year. So, there's a lot of guys that probably have a lot of work to do, but dude, Knoxville's Knoxville. You never know what's going to happen when you get there in August. So, great for Todd Queering, entire Houston Speedway group, Jackson Motorplex, and Cody Jacobs and those guys. That was, cool for them. Obviously, you win at Knoxville. That means something. To have speed at Knoxville leading up to what is the biggest event of the year in sprint car racing. I mean, I'm sure they're tickled to death. They got a good package. They qualified good. They heat raced good. They featured good. That's all you can ask for.
And they actually got bad draws in qualifying both nights.
That's what I mean.
2-car went out. That's the other thing, folks. This guy went out dead last in his group, and still posted a top 5 in qualifying. Yeah. Both rounds of qualifying, Friday and Saturday. He wasn't in the first 10 cars that go out. And we both know sometimes Knoxville, it seems like it's really good if you go out earlier. Sometimes it's really good if you go out late. It's that middle. Those guys kind of in the middle always seem to be kind of in trouble. And qualifying at Knoxville, to me, when I was there for the 2 days, is so qualifying dependent because the cars are so good and the competition's so good. It's like you can't afford to get behind. In racing in general anymore, when you go to the bigger paying, you can't afford to get behind.
No, God, no. Absolutely not. No. That's the hardest part about Knoxville is being behind. That's the one thing you cannot do there. Is be backed up in a heat race or things along those lines, because it's just too hard to dig yourself out of a hole at that place. So, yeah, I think August is going to be exciting for sure.
Absolutely. The one guy that, and I said this before, and I watched all weekend, Anthony Macri is going to win a Knoxville Nationals. I'm telling you now, might not be this year or next year. It's coming.
That's a bold statement.
If you watch this guy race over the weekend, you could tell he's figuring it out. I mean, he was good.
Yeah.
All weekend.
No, for sure.
He was in the dash. And I don't think we give this kid, got second at Eagle. I mean, he is figuring it's all you always hear about the guys out east. Oh, you get them in the Midwest, a little bit, they get them away from there, you get them on some smaller racetracks, bull rings and stuff. Anthony Macri is a special talent. And I think me and you have watched enough of him. I mean, we all look at when you go to Port Royal at the 39M, watching him bang the boards is incredible. But this kid is pretty good on these bull rings. And when I watched him over the weekend at Knoxville, you could just look and you're like, they're putting a program together for there.
For sure. Well, I mean, we said it from the beginning of the year, they went down and they did the speed week shit. They did the things that you need to do to figure out your program. And it's obviously gaining ground that they've accomplished leading up to stuff like this that they want to be good at. And so, obviously they're carrying a lot of speed and momentum right now as well, ripping off the podiums and things like that with the Outlaws. And, they're clipping along here. And I think, obviously Anthony Macri is a talent. We've all known that. But when guys like that are able to start putting it all together, that's when you start seeing them win big races. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to win in Knoxville Nationals like you did.
No, I'm not either. I'm saying
not disagreeing.
You could look at the program he's putting
but he's building a rapport of being able to race at other style racetracks than just all the PA stuff that everybody knows him for.
And you could tell by the way the team is, they've made the investment into being at Knoxville.
For sure.
They know how important it is. And we can end on that note and go into would you ever think that you'd be seeing $100,000 to win and $250,000 to win race in 4 days at the same racetrack? Here we are at USIT's going into this week, one of the most pristine, one of the nicest facilities in the country that Todd and his team have put together there. And we've got $100,000 to win, of course, on Thursday. Then we come back Saturday with $250,000 to win.
Yeah, crazy. Todd, what an unbelievable dude he is to put up the money that he does for this sport. Obviously a staple. Yeah, and just a staple in their sport of, how he's owned race cars for God knows how long now with Sammy Swindell and Terry McCarl, David Gravel, and all these racers, but also sits here and pummels massive amounts of money into big events. And it's pretty cool to see for sure. It makes obviously those big paying races are exciting. There's a lot of shit that happens. And it's just I don't know, it's a cool deal, to know that we can race for as much money as we're racing for now. The sprint car guys are, obviously racing for a shitload this week. But it's neat to see, hell, it is cool because, man, dude, whoever wins that $250,000.
And those purses pay all the way down too. People need to understand that. This isn't we always talk about the top heavy purses, right? We always talk about it. Yeah. This isn't one of them.
No, this is, don't get me wrong. It's top heavy, but it pays.
Well, it has to be when you pay $250 out.
But it pays like a son of a bitch outside of that. So yeah, it's cool, dude. Props to Todd and those guys there. What an unbelievable deal for those guys to be able to race for that amount of money. So it's a trajectory changing style deal. If, let's just say a guy that it maybe isn't as a big team wins that race, that changes your entire outlook on what your program does for years forward. So, super cool, man.
And you get what you want this week. You get your Larson and Bell.
Dude, wild.
The Kreitz car, the 69K comes to USIT's.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Crazy. Yeah.
I was thinking of you about that because I know how much you love watching.
I love it.
That powder blue 69 coming into town.
It's fucking sick.
With sick. Christopher and Kyle, man. It just sets the stage for what's to come,
Yeah. Hey, can we talk about real quick about Owen Larson absolutely fencing that thing last week? Did you see that at Millbridge? I got to text Kyle the other night, and I just said, after I saw the video of Owen, I'm like, dude, he was on the hammer. And Kyle sent me the in-car of Owen, right after that. and it just cool to see, right? Obviously, Kyle's one of the greatest talents we'll ever watch in our lives, but
Ever.
to see his kid just absolutely sending it at Millbridge was fucking awesome. I love it.
Well,
And
he sent it to an eagle, you know what I mean? So
dude,
it's like a family affair last week.
like father, like son, I guess. So pretty cool to see. And it obviously shows the growth of what our sport is bringing in. Also outside of this, Christopher and Kyle have paved the way for a lot of these young kids to know that they can make it to a higher level, by just being dirt racers. So big kudos to them. Fucking great for Husitz and all those guys to have both of those talents coming along with all the other great talents that are going to be there. It's going to be an unbelievable weekend. Great for the sport, great for the team owners, great for the drivers, the fans, all of those things. That's what we do this for. At the end of the day, is for weekends like this that are coming up. That's why the passion is there. It's why we race for the money we race for now, because dude, it's the most badass sport in the world for a reason. I think the guys in NASCAR are talented. I think F1's talented. I think IndyCar's talented. I don't think they hold a fucking candle to dirt racing, if you ask me. Just the truth.
By the way, before I forget, when I went to Aaron's shop on Saturday, naturally we were watching a little bit of the US Open and kind of going through a few things. He didn't have the ideal weekend he wanted to have, but he flat out just told me, he's like, if Gordy doesn't come by the shop in August,
I'll be there.
Have a couple of beers and maybe get on that golf simulator a little, hit a couple of golf balls. He goes, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, that ain't gonna be a problem. I'm gonna drink all his beer and I'm gonna show him up on that simulator.
Well, I thought about it. What was neat is because like right behind him is where Sheldon and them work, and stuff. I was like, man, my gosh, you could probably go there and stay and make a complete day out of it just there, just from walking from door to door.
Sounds like I ain't gonna make it back to my motorhome that night.
Well, you got to pick this weekend, Gordy, at Usitz.
Yeah, you're not gonna like it though.
You like the 17?
You're damn.
I had a feeling you were going to go there, but I'm going to challenge you because I'm taking the shirt that I have on with the 83.
Give me Ripper.
And I'm going to break it down with you real easy.
Give me Ripper.
James McFadden.
Give me Sheldon. Give me Ripper. Give me Sheldon. Give me Stenhouse Marshall. $250,000, Richards. Done.
I like the 83. I think Buddy is going to have a big week. And by the way, Buddy already promised me he's coming on the show, by the way. He's ready to come on the Dirt Parlor.
Well, that's good. He ain't winning though.
Brown. I talked to Brian Brown last week. Brownie wants to be a part of the show. We got some guys that want to be. Tyler Courtney wants to come on, so we're going to get these guys on too, and we're going to have to figure it out. Even if it's a Knoxville National type of deal where we bring these guys on, but
we'll get them all.
It is exciting knowing that people are paying attention to what we're doing.
It's awesome. Yeah,
I'm excited about what we're doing.
I got the 1-7 victorious on Saturday. Ripper is going to have them dialed in. Sheldon's ready to make a statement. They've struggled. They got a win there a couple weeks ago. It was good for them.
All right.
This is it. This is the one that gives a little swift kick in the ass, and they motor on. So I'm excited for them. I think it's gonna be a great weekend. I'm excited to watch it all.
Me too.
Hopefully David Gravel doesn't get hit by the front stretch gate again this year at his own racetrack.
Yeah, the gate probably not going to be an issue.
Yeah, front gate. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully not. But yeah, I like the 17.
Okay. Well, that wraps up the Dirt Parlor for this week. Next week we'll be recapping probably USITs and recapping all the events from last week. Especially be talking a lot about Peevely since Gordy's going to be also racing there as well. And we're going to be, of course, talking about Skagit, and then we're going to be talking about other events upcoming. We got Pennsylvania Speedway's going to be coming up here. We got a lot of races coming up before the Royal. And Gordy, I'll let you kind of, you can close her out, babe.
Hey, I appreciate everybody for following the Dirt Parlor. Man, we're just growing this thing, and it's super exciting to have a great platform with a lot of great people standing behind us. You know, Steve Martin and Nutrient Ag, Jeff Hoker and Hoker Trucking, Bodies by Skinny, Checkered Customs, Don, our new sponsor, Reed Millard with Millard Family Chapels. What a great deal to have them on board. We're only going to continue to grow this thing bigger and bigger, and keep up, you know, our platform and be the voice of the industry the way we want to be. You know, I'm excited for all of it. You know, thank you to Jeff and Abby, obviously, for grinding with us through this. Thank you to Joey, everybody at Get Attention STL. Make sure you guys like and subscribe on YouTube. Till next week. Can't wait to talk more.